This is a conversation with Coach Nic St-Maurice. He's a celebrity coach who has experience coaching Karim Benzema, Alistair Overeem, Ben Mendy, Daniel Sturridge, and 50 Cent. He's a celebrity coach, fitness instructor, entrepreneur, and athlete. In this episode, we discuss coaching styles, how to become a professional athlete, growing up in Montreal, Canada, and some really interesting stories from his time coaching 50 Cent, Benzema, and Alistair Overeem. This is no time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube. It's just one click for man, a giant click for anywhere. You can also follow this channel on Spotify or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. This project continues to take a lot of my time, money, and effort. So if you'd like to see it continue, then do consider supporting me on Patreon. Or you can donate a robot that does all the menial tasks. For other forms of love and support, you can always follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter and TikTok, or you can follow me personally, not on TikTok. Now it's no time. So you grew up in Montreal, Canada. If I had to ask you to describe what growing up in Montreal is like, what your childhood was like, what are some favorite memories or some things that get you nostalgic about
The cold,
it?
the cold in the winter. Like
Yeah.
right now, they're freezing cold. We're talking like -20, going for runs. Like it was normal for me, obviously, but going for a run when it's -20, -30. I used to run track outside. It was -10, but no, it was a good. You take those things for granted, I guess, when you grow up there. But it was a nice childhood. It's safe. Everybody's respectful. Everybody's polite and stuff. And yeah, I guess I was lucky. I never really thought about it growing up. About like it's only once I moved here that people were start like I heard people talking about, oh, I have this passport. I'm trying to get the
Yeah.
Canadian passport and that. I was like, why? Like, but
How do you motivate yourself to get out there and start running in that when it's that cold out there?
I prefer to run actually when it's, I'd say, -20 than if it's like 30. As soon as it gets too hot for some reason, I can't do it. Yeah, I'm too used to that. But yeah, man. I mean, I was I was always very driven. Like I wasn't necessarily the most talented athlete, but I was always trying to make it up with extra work, and discipline. And so for me, it was just like, yeah, part of the work I got to do if I want to get to where I want.
What's one place in Montreal or Quebec that people should always visit?
The mountain there, yeah, it's beautiful. Montreal is not like a huge city, but it's an island, and I mean, I grew up on the south shore of Montreal, so right across the bridge, and it's nice and quiet. It's suburbs. But I lived also when I was going to McGill. I lived in downtown Montreal, and yeah, the Montreal, especially like in the fall and stuff. It's very nice, man. And you have a nice view from the top. It's easy. You run maybe for 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to the top, and then you have an amazing view once you get to the top.
Yeah, I mean, it is a beautiful country. Always wanted to go. What about what is one of your favorite like local restaurants or cafes that you always have to visit if you're in Montreal?
Oh, the food, poutine. You heard of
Mm.
poutine before?
No, what is
Oh
it?
man, they have a couple places now here in Dubai. Actually, they brought from Canada. It's basically French fries with like Kirby cheese, this quick with cheese, and then some like sauce that's a bit like gravy, but it's a bit different. It's for poutine, and it's amazing, man.
You had me at
Yeah,
French fries.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But these three, the combo together is
Yeah,
winner. Yeah, once you try it, you can't. It's so good, man.
it's in Dubai as well. You
They
mentioned.
have some places in Dubai. Yeah, actually, I saw on Instagram the other day. If you just type in, I don't know, there's a place in Dubai. I forget what it's called, but it's for Putin. Yeah, yeah, Poutine. So when I go back there, it's a cheat meal, obviously, but like it's one of those like at 3 4 in the morning after people go out, go clubbing or whatever. Usually people go to McDonald's or something like that. Over there, it's either McDonald's or poutine. It's very fatty, very nice when you're drunk or whatever. It's the best food to have.
Do you miss not being surrounded by people who keep saying "a"?
I didn't really realize because I grew up in French, so like speaking, I learned English. I was really bad in English till I was 12, and then when I was 12, my dad got a job in the States, so we moved there. I didn't have a choice to learn it, and then, so the English that I had learned basically was in Maine when I was 12, 13. When we were 14, we went back to Quebec for a couple of years. I was there in high school in French again. So I never really like. Then I went back to New York when I was 17, 1 year, and then came back to go to McGill. So I guess that's the first times that I heard actually English Canadians speaking like that. Because before that it was French Canadians in French, and we have like a word similar to "eh," but like I didn't grow up hearing "eh, eh." It's in French we say "eh" actually.
But what
uh,
does it mean? Can be used for anything.
yeah, you just it's a good question. I don't know. At the end of a sentence, you just say "eh." Like it can mean a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I guess I'm not a good candidate. I'm not a good example of that because I'm a French Canadian, right? We're different. Like, so we're not the typical Canadian. To be honest, we're everybody in Canada knows we're a bit different. Also, we're very different actually. So we like, it goes back to answer. So I have a tattoo actually that says, "I remember that." You know how every license plates and the different states in the states, they each have their own line that has to do with their history, like uh, this kind of state or whatever. And then in same in the provinces in Canada, and the one in Quebec is "I remember," "Je me souviens," which is basically relating to the wars and stuff. And basically, we were the French colony. There was also the English colonies. Uh, Obviously, in down south, the United States, they managed to rebel against the English, and they got independence. Up in Canada, we tried, we didn't manage to do it basically, and then the French, we tried to get rid of the English around us, and we failed. Basically, we lost the war. So that's how we're part of Canada. But the rest of Canada, everybody's English. Our money, there's still the queen on it, you know. And we're French Canadians. We have nothing to do with them. Like it's just because we lost the war. So there's always the people in Canada are not like too fond of us in general because we always want something different, something special because it's like a different country. In 96, I think, or 97, we had a referendum, to separate from the rest of Canada, and we lost by less than 1%. Like it was like 50.5 to 49.5. The votes that. So in that year, we were this close to separating from Canada. So we would have been a different country.
Okay, so let's talk about your childhood. So you used to love sports. You used to play a lot of sports when you were growing up. There's one specific story where I think it was your football tryouts where you saw your friend Joe and he was just destroying the tryouts apparently, and then you went and checked what changed. What is that
Yeah.
story about?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean, that's how I discovered a bit. Like, that's how I started discovering how to train for to get explosive for sports and stuff. Back then I was playing football, like soccer, for my school, my high school. I was running track, cross country, a bunch of different sports, anything where you have to run, hockey and all that. And like I said, I was always trying to get better, compensate for. I don't have the best genetics. I'm not bad, but like I was always one of the harder workers. And and then you get to an age like 16, 17, 18, where like some of the guys are like really stepping it up, and then some of the guys are left behind, and it didn't make sense that I was working so hard and it wasn't happening. And then yeah, so I had a friend basically in high school, one of my track friends actually, who um, started getting really explosive. And basically, yeah, because he started doing weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting in our city on the South Shore. We were lucky that we had the Canadian national team for weightlifting was training there. Well, like some of the best in the country.
Marie Sturkar was there,
Maria
right?
Soka, she'd been the
Yeah.
Canadian champion for 12 years in a row. Very nice woman. She's now a doctor and stuff. But yeah, so she was training there. Her coach was there also, Pierre Bergeron Jr. And yeah, so and then my high school track coach, was a very good track coach. I got lucky. He suggested, well, he pushed us to do that Olympic weightlifting to get us more explosive for sprints, and that's when I started doing that, and my times went improved a lot really quick. Uh, those guys, like even when they train with Olympic sprinters, those Olympic weightlifters, they destroy everybody on the first 20 meters. They're so explosive because it's all about one or two reps. Like their whole sport is about one rep. It's how much power can you exert in like boom. It's not like repetitive like football. It's 90 minutes. Okay, no, it's one shot. You get it or you don't. So it's all the training is about getting super explosive. So when you come out of the blocks or when you accelerate on 20 meters, they just fly, man. The relative like power for their body weight is unbelievable. So I started becoming really good at starts, my acceleration and stuff. Um, and then yeah, then so I started training that way. I was getting good. I was doing some competitions for weightlifting and stuff. And then end of high school, well, end of that year, um, playing American football. Basically, I went for a touchdown. I don't know if I talk about that in the book, but um, yeah, and I dived for it between two guys, and then one guy basically hit me with his knee on the side of the quad. So I got it like a Charlie horse, and I didn't know anything about physios back then or anything, but it was really painful. Basically what it is, it's like you're contracting your quads like 100% to get into, to sprint to the end zone, and then you get boom like a big bruise in there, and it's a strain. It's a big strain. It's a big bruise in your quads, and if you don't fix it properly with physio and massage and all that proper stuff, uh, you're you're gonna build scar tissue, but instead of having your muscle fibers like this, it'll be like all over the place. And what it means is that eventually, like, so I waited a couple of weeks. I started running again. I was fine and everything, but then after a couple of months, I realized like whenever I was trying to sprint 100%, it was still there. It was still hurting. And then once I finally found out about physios, and then yeah, they told me basically it had healed, but all over the place. What happened basically, they had to break all the scar tissue, so it's like re-injuring it, like restarting from zero so that it can heal again properly. But over the next few weeks or months, what it means is that that other leg is still getting stronger and stuff. This one is getting weaker compared to the other one. And then sprints, what happens eventually is, if a lot of the injuries, like from there, basically it was a bit downhill. uh, I still I moved up to 200s and 400s and 600s because I was training hard and I was fit and stuff, but I couldn't go all out because it would hurt, you know. And and then yeah, from there, basically, when you get one injury like this, then your body compensates, because obviously in a sprint everything's working 100%, and you're going one like straight like this, right? So if one thing is a bit weak on one side, then the other side starts compensating. You pull your hamstring on that side, you come back, your hip flexion on this side, I have a little injury, then hamstring on this side, and then from there it's tough to ever come back from injuries. So I think a lot of like pro athletes, to make it to the top, obviously it's hard work, genetics, having the right environment and all that, but you have to be lucky also, because you can never predict. I mean, this was just playing American football. It can happen in football or anything. Somebody tackles you, you trip, something happens, you fall, and then you were supposed to be a promising pro athlete, and next thing you know, you start getting injured and stuff. And like, with Musunda, for example, that's who knows what's gonna happen. Charlie Musunda from Chelsea that I was training, but basically very promising. At 16 or 17, he was the best player in the world for his age, and now he's just turned 24. But for the past 4 years, only played 3 games, and um, I doubt he'll ever be back to the same level.
It's very tough. So I know for a fact. So you wanted to become a professional athlete and you want to play games professionally, and then there was this one practice where you decided that this is it. I can't do it, and I need to become a coach. And I think on your way back, you called your sister as well, and you told her the news. That must have been a very tough moment for you.
Yeah,
Take me back. What were you going through, and how hard was it for you to then get out of it and then now look into coaching instead?
yeah. I mean, looking back, like obviously everything happens for a reason, and I'm fortunate for the way it happened and stuff. Because if you look back, I guess everything happened in the proper time. But yeah, I started working while I was still running track at McGill. I started working after my first year there as a personal trainer also, and started working with American football players and stuff like that. And then I ran track, I think, 2 more years. And then yeah, with the injuries and stuff, it took its toll, and basically I wasn't running as fast anymore as I could, and it's a competitive sport. There's only so many people who can be on the team. So basically, I think that third year, I got cut from the sprint coach, and I mean, whose fault is it? I wasn't running fast enough with all those injuries and stuff, and in a way, also it was a big relief. Like when it happened, I was you're destroyed. It's your identity as a high level athlete. Like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I run track. I'm a sprinter. I'm quick. I'm explosive and all that. But all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, this is what I've been doing my whole life. What am I now? So that was the toughest part. But um, yeah, but looking back, it worked out really well.
It did. I remember you moved to Dubai because one of your friends moved here because his girlfriend, I believe, was settling here. That's when you Googled Dubai for the first time. So I want to get your first impression when you moved to Dubai. How different was it from Canada? Dubai is obviously colder.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many differences, but you know, um, the first impression that I got from Dubai when I first moved here, I remember coming through, from the airport, coming down Shah Zayed and looking at the skyscrapers. I was like, holy, this place is crazy, And I'd say the first couple of years working with my friend at that gym and stuff, I was a bit close to really what Dubai was because we were a team of strength conditioning coaches. It was an amazing gym, amazing facilities, amazing team and stuff, but management, including my friend who was owning the gym, it wasn't really done properly. The marketing wasn't there. The management wasn't done properly. It was their first business also, so understandable. But so yeah, it was a bit frustrating and yeah, so we were always all of us together basically. And then when I finally quit, and almost everybody quit also after like 3.5 years, that's when I really started experiencing Dubai, and I was like, wow, this place has a lot to offer. Before that, also, it's Dubai. Obviously, you have to. It helps a lot if you have a good income. It's made for that. Also, that's why all my pro athletes like to come here and stuff. Like it's a good place for that. But also, like it has a way of, if you want to make it and make some good income, there's a way. Like I always find it's a bit like maybe New York 100 years ago, where all the immigrants are going there because there's that American dream, and you can exactly the land of opportunity. And here also, I always say, like, if you're willing to hustle, to work hard, to do the work and grind and think outside the box a little bit, like there's definitely a way to make it. Like I didn't realize, obviously, like back then, basically when we opened that gym, it was a gym made for athletes. And one of the main reasons why it didn't work out was because uh, it's a different culture here, and kids they don't necessarily grow up wanting to be pro athletes. Back home, every single little boy wants to be a pro athlete, whether it's American football or ice hockey or basketball, NFL, anything like that. Is here they're not as serious about it. It's fine. It's a different world. But so for us, it was, that's kind of like why it didn't work out. And then the other guys, most of the guys that were with me in that company, they all left Dubai now. But the ones that are left now, they're training general population, fat loss people, this and that, which is fine. But it's not why we came to Dubai. And I try to stick to my passion and trying to high level athletes and stuff. And that's when I figured out, wow, there's actually a lot of big athletes that come here. They just don't know, like, I mean, obviously they come on vacation, they're not here for training camps and stuff, but they also don't know about, that some people can train them here.
Did you ever imagine that you would move to Dubai so far from Canada and that's where you would meet your Canadian hero, GSP, George St. Pierre?
Oh man. Uh yeah, for me it was a big thing for sure, man. Growing up in especially, he's from the South Shore of Montreal also, very French Canadian like me. He's from Saint Isidore, which is like 15 minutes from where I'm from. So I remember whenever he had a fight, in the 2000s, early 2010s, like all of the streets are empty. It's like the World Cup final. But all the streets are empty. Everybody's in a bar at home watching it, and everybody's cheering. He was named Canadian Athlete of the Year like for 3-4 years in a row or something. For us, it's a huge pride, like to have him. So and yeah, he's very down to earth. He's the opposite of like Conor McGregor in a way. I'm not saying Conor is a bad guy, but the image that he gives out, he's a big douchebag,
You're going to
insulting
get a lot of
people.
comments today on Instagram.
That's fine.
All these fans.
But it's true. Everybody knows. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great businessman. He's very
Yeah.
smart. He knows how to make the money, and that's his style. Calls out people, this and that. A bit like those punks, Logan Paul, and those.
Yeah.
They play the game, they make the money, and okay. But GSP was a true mixed martial artist, and even Connor, all the guys they know it. I mean, Khabib also. That's why he has so much respect for him. Khabib and his dad, they've always wanted to fight like GSP. If he comes back, it's only to fight GSP, and that's because he's like one of the greatest ever, and he's a student. Even now, if you look at his Instagram, he's not even fighting anymore. He hasn't fought for years, and he's always practicing, learning new things and stuff. Like he just loves it, you know. It's a way of life. So, yeah. So for us, he's a big hero, and to meet him was really special. I still talk to him. He was here a couple of weeks ago with his family. I didn't get to see him this time, but I talked to him a little bit on WhatsApp and stuff. It's very cool, and that's one of the things Dubai can offer, you know, because in Montreal everybody would try to meet with him, and here, like there's only a handful of French Canadians.
He's a phenomenal athlete. He did try to trash talk once in his life, and that was when
Oh
he said,
gosh,
"I'm not impressed by your performance."
to who?
To Matt Hughes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was it. And
big boy, eh?
yeah, the amount of jokes that came out of it. Okay, so let's talk about sports. If I were to ask you to give me a speech on why you think ice hockey is the greatest sport on earth, what would you say?
When did you hear that? Was that on one of the podcasts? I said that.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's just if you think about it, or if you give it a try, you'll see. Like first you have to know how to ice skate really well. You know, and that's not easy. I mean, for most people, unless you're born like Quebec or something, and then you have to stick handle, which is also not easy, and then physically also, the guys are very explosive. They're machines, a bit like NFL guys. They're very explosive, very quick. But also the shifts usually last on average like 45 seconds. So you get that lactic acid, which means it's burning. Like it's not an endurance sport. It's not a sprinting one. It's in between the two, and it's like a bit like running a 400. I don't know if you run a 400 before, but it's called the killer sprint for a reason. Like you just want to puke after, man. Like it hurts so much, that lactic acid that kicks in after 20-25 seconds, and then you got to keep going for another 25 seconds. It's hell, man. And then they just keep doing that. So their conditioning, their fitness is amazing. And then yeah, they're playing with a little puck and they have to score. And then on top of that, they got like another 5 guys on the ice trying to hit them and get the puck away from them,
And
So
have fighting skills as well in case the fight breaks
yeah,
out.
that's more for the enforcers. But yeah, all of them, they need to know how to defend themselves because you never know. Yeah.
So you've played football, American football. You've been a sprinter. You've trained basketballers, trained MMA athletes, and played ice hockey as well. So do you think ice hockey stands out as one of the toughest sports? It requires a very high level of skill in all departments.
Yeah, it's different. But yeah, I think if you want to master any sport, you have to study it your whole life. American football also, like, it's not just if you want to be an NFL receiver, you can't just like go and run your route and like okay you can receive. No, the other guy is also really good, so you have to be extra good if you want to get rid of him and get open and make the catch, and you have 2 guys hitting you at the same time and stuff. So that's tough also. But obviously, football it's it's a great sport, but in terms of how difficult it is, it's not that hard. Like what I mean? Like it's a ball and yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to be good, same thing. If you want to be really good, you have to practice a lot of things. But just to be able to play the sport, I think ice hockey is definitely. I mean, you can play ball hockey, which is way easier. I grew up playing that in the streets, like every single day. But ice hockey is just because you're on skates, man. If you think about it, like on the ice, it's
Additional level of difficulty
yeah,
already.
it's like the sport is already
Yeah.
hard, and then you make it like super hard.
Interesting. Okay, so let's do a thought experiment. Let's say I want to become a professional footballer and you're going to be coaching me. So just to get an idea of what things we'll be focusing on. So let's start with our training routine. What are some elements that I should be focusing on if I want to become a professional footballer in terms of training first?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, normally it all depends on your background and how you've been training for the past years. And are you overweight? Are you in shape? Are you injured? Are you how old are you? All these things. But yeah, it's a very complete sport. Also, football. Like I mean, you have to have really good fitness to last a good 90 minutes. You have to have the skills. It's not easy also, and you have to be very explosive also. So you have to be able to run really fast, jump high, change directions really quick also, and have a lot of skills with the ball. You don't have to have the most skills with the ball. because it depends on the position you play. Maybe you play on defense and you just need to make sure that the guys don't get past you or something. But yeah, it's a very complete sport. So it's hard to say. It really depends for everybody. But for most guys that I train, just because in general, football, it's a very old school sport. It's because it's such a big sport in the world, and they focus a lot on endurance, and not enough on explosive stuff. Whereas in the sports that I've played and I've worked with back home, it's a lot of explosive stuff also. So I usually work a lot with them on getting more explosive, change directions, accelerating faster, that kind of stuff, and it works out really well because that's what they need. But if you came to me as a sprinter, you've been an Olympic sprinter, like you're, let's say, Carlin Isles from the US. I don't know if you know, he's one of the best rugby players now, but he was Olympic sprinters for the US, made it to the semifinals, national, or if not the finals. Really quick guy. So when he learned, he wanted to do rugby. Well, for him, it was the opposite. He's got the speed down already. He's super quick. So now it's like, okay, how do I catch the ball? How do I the tactics and stuff, change directions, and the fitness also, obviously.
So you've also worked with a lot of professional footballers. You work with Karim Benzema. How did that come about? How did you meet him, and what is he like in person?
He's a great guy, man. He's a great guy. He's surrounded by, all kinds of people. But I mean, yeah. So that's the main reason how I got to start training him a couple of years ago. I think it's been 3 or 4 years now, and you know, I mean, you have to be a bit lucky to succeed in anything, and so I got a bit of luck there. But then I made the most out of it. Also, I think the basically how it happened. I was training athletes. I was training myself as an athlete and stuff. I was training from Train SF in Alcoz, and then this guy that was there also. His name is, well, he calls himself Messi. He he knew about me and stuff, and he knew I was professional and all that. So one day he messaged me, called me, said, "Yeah, I have Karim Benzema." And he deals with a lot of like celebrities when they come to Dubai and stuff. He said, "I have Benzema in town. Can you arrange for him? He'd like a sports massage and stuff." So I arranged everything for him with Disc, the clinic that I work with. They sent a good sports massage and all that, and then he loved it. And the next day he said, "Oh yeah, we really liked it. Can he get the massage again?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll arrange it." And I told him, "Look, obviously no need for commission or anything, but let him know if he ever wants to train. I'm available and all that, and I speak French also, so he'll feel more comfortable and everything." So, and then yeah, I think at like 1 a.m. or something the next day, the guy messaged me. He's like, "Yo, can you train him tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, I'll be there." And then yeah, and then from there, it worked out really well. Obviously, it helped. Like I remember the first time I saw him and I spoke to him in French, he was very relieved because obviously a lot of French guys, their English is not that great, and he plays in Spain also, so he doesn't really to speak English much. So yeah, and then yeah, so he's a really nice guy, very down to earth. But all those guys, sometimes I forget. Like I meet them privately, I train them privately. Everything is private, so you see a different side to them. They're very normal, very nice guys and stuff, and you're introduced through like some of their friends, so it's you're one of them. It's cool. But then when you go, like we went to Dubai Mall with him like 1 or 2 years ago, and that's when I saw how crazy it was. Like, or when we go to the clubs, how nuts people go. Like I was like, holy, like different game. And we were in Dubai Mall, and people were trying to take pictures, and we had to tell everybody no pictures. And people will go. We were on the first floor getting watches and stuff, and I could see like people going up to the second and third floor to take pictures from there, so that we couldn't stop them. I was like, holy man, like it's crazy. And then eventually, like we said no pictures, and then we had something to eat. And after we ate in the food court, there were some kids that were there that wanted some pictures. So so he took a picture with one of the kids, and right away, boom, like freaking crowd came, and it was crazy. Like the security had to, like we had to start running with the security and
Yeah.
stuff. Secret door, secret exit to the building, and
Yeah.
everything. I was like, wow, man, this is
This
nuts.
is his life. This is
Yeah,
his normal life.
yeah, and it's always like this.
Yeah.
I mean, Dubai is better than a lot of places, but like, yeah, man, it's hard to imagine because also when I talk to him, sometimes he's very cool, sometimes you're not too sure what he's thinking, and it's hard for us to imagine like what kind of life it must be, man, because everybody he's used to having a lot of people around him that want to take advantage of him. A lot of those football players, everybody wants their money, everybody's like fake friends, this and that. So it's hard for them to know who to trust also, um,
You
yeah.
mentioned so all of these athletes are under so much scrutiny, and always so many people are watching every movement of theirs. You're a big fan of Stoicism, I believe, and Marcus Aurelius in the past, he has a quote where it says that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Do you think
On
there's
the quality of what?
of your thoughts?
Hmm.
Do you think there's a link between Stoicism and being a professional athlete and sports and fitness? Do you think there are benefits from it?
Yeah, absolutely. In life in general, it doesn't matter what you do as a profession. Stoicism is to help you be a good person and to have a good life. Um, I've told a lot of players about some principles that I've learned from from those books, Marcus Aurelius and those guys, and I love that stuff, man. Like whenever they have a Netflix show on the Roman Empire or anything like that, history stuff, I'm like, wow, I love it. I'm amazed at like that this actually happened, and like a guy like Marcus Aurelius, most powerful man on earth and stuff, and like what he must have had to deal with. So you're thinking like, oh, Benzema's life is crazy. Imagine this guy, this guy, and like he kept his cool, and he was a good emperor, and they were not obviously all good, but yeah. So there's a lot of good lessons that you can learn from a guy like that. Like it doesn't get any more badass than that. But yeah, a lot of the players, like when they get injured, it's not easy. When they don't have a team, it's also not easy. It's a lot of stress. Obviously, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, he's a pro athlete. He's living the life." And, okay, it's not all easy and stuff, man. But yeah, having the right values, having the right things in perspective and stuff, I think it definitely helps you to keep your cool, to focus on what you can control, and then the rest, man, it's in God's hands, and then whatever happens is meant to be.
You've also trained with 50 Cent, right? What is
Mm.
he like in person?
That was epic. I think that was like even that was I think that was the most epic for me. Like obviously GSP, I was supposed to train. That would have been sick.
Yeah.
But 50 is 50, man. I grew up. I lived in Queens also for a
Yeah.
couple of years, and I should have found some pictures. Like you know, um, I was very into that culture. Like I was a sprinter. All my friends were black. Also, I used to hang out only with black people, and like and I was a huge fan, growing up. I still now listen to his music all the time, So to be able like to train him, I remember like I was spotting him on the bench press, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I wanted to get my camera out so bad, but I was like, "No, no, play it cool." And thank God some guys like took some videos and stuff, so I have that at least. But yeah, it was epic, man. And then I remember like after one set that we did incline bench, he's still really strong. He's a big boy, huh? He's like
Yeah.
6'1", 225, big boy. He knows how to box. Also, he's a scary dude, and he was benching on the incline like two plates, so 100 kilos, like 10 reps. Helped him a little bit, and he was not even like in good shape at that point. So he's a strong boy, man. And then after we did the set, he told me, "Yeah, come here." So he's like, "Come over here." So I went, and he showed me. He lifted his pants, and he showed me like, "Yo, I got shot here, 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 here."
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Yeah, I know, man. Everybody knows,
Everyone
man."
knows your story.
But
You're 50 Cent.
but I was unreal, yeah.
He's quite intense, is what I've heard from
Yeah, so
everything he
we
does.
there's a funny story. I don't know. I think there's a video on Instagram, but you don't know the whole story from the video. Basically, what happened? I was training Danny Williams, who was a U.S. Olympic football player, and after so he was in the gym. Also, we had a couple of guys, maybe five guys there, like his friends and stuff. And so I'm training 50, and then I convince him, for me in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is gonna make a sick picture or video. I finally convinced him to wear like a chain around his neck for the push-ups. I was like, this is sick. This looks crazy. So I was like, I hope someone is filming. And thank God I had two friends filming, my friend Jovi and my friend, well, Danny Williams. And the video that I have is basically Danny's filming. He's at the table. He asked 50's friend, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, man, of course. So he filmed, and in the video you see 50 doing his push-ups, and then he looks up and he sees Danny filming him. He's like, "Yo, what the fuck you think you're doing, man?" And he walks up to him like he's in some kind of trouble, and everybody just froze. I froze. Danny just like froze. He shat his pants. Like everybody's like, holy shit. And then 50 got to him and he's like, nah, I'm just kidding, man. But it was so intense because you know who he is and what
Yeah.
he's done and all that. Like the other guy, my other friend Jovi, who was taking a video from a different angle, right away he deleted it because he was so scared. So I don't have that video. And Danny's video, that's it. Like you just see 50 getting up, hey, what the? And then he comes up to, and then he stopped filming. So that's the video we have. But yeah, it's, and then it was epic. We had like 45 minutes or something. We just had a chat about business, boxing, life, and stuff. And I was just like trying to absorb everything. Like, wow, this guy's a legend. It's not just the hip hop, the rap. It's business. He's done like vitamin water. He's done all kinds of stuff. He's freaking smart guy, and he came from nothing, you know. So yeah, it was
Is there
sick.
is there anything in particular that you think sets professional athletes or celebrities apart from normal people? Like they're doing this one thing really well that other people don't really focus on.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's a tough one, but I think at the end of the day, you know, they always say that the guy who succeeded is the guy who just failed more often. He probably failed more often than the amount of times that the beginner tried. You know, so it's true. It's all about, obviously you don't want to keep doing the same things over and over again. That's just, yeah, that's just stupid. But try to learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. And the guy who doesn't give up at the end is the guy who's going to succeed. You know. So, you know, everybody sees, oh, yeah, this guy, wow, like he's a millionaire, this and that. And you don't know the past 20 years where he's like just been failing and living on his parents' couch and, you know, he didn't have any money and stuff like that. Like it's, so at the end of the day, for sports, it's like that also very often. Now, obviously, you have to have the right genetics and all these things I said, but for business and in life in general, it's just about hanging in there and just believing in yourself and just never giving up, you know?
Interesting. So to succeed, you need to fail more often and learn from your
Yeah,
failures,
man.
and that's how
You have to get comfortable getting out of your comfort zone and be willing to fail. And if you fail, I mean that me, man, the amount of times that I failed and I keep failing and you know it's rough on my mom, it's rough on people around me sometimes because she sees me like she gets hurt whenever I fail at something, you know. And I'm like, mom, it's part of the process. It's fine. Like overall, I'm still progressing and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I have a tendency. I love going for the home run. You know, I try to I go for it. You know, and yeah, most of the time it doesn't work out. But when it does work out, I'm like, man, this was sick. You know, and it takes you to the next level. And then you go again and you fail 10 times, and then oh, okay, nice, you got it once, and
of course, one athlete that you work with who's also making a comeback like this, who has failed and has always come back strong, is Alistair Overeem, and you worked with him as well. What was that like? You were training him now for another return into UFC.
yeah. I'm supposed to actually. He might be coming here. I don't know if he's gonna come here this month. I need to message him, but we'll see with COVID. Because I was supposed to go with him now in the spring, maybe training him for the training camp for the next fight. But over him, it was very special. Also, obviously, everybody knows who he is, and you know those guys, those fighters, the image, like he's a big boy, like tough guy, like
Yeah.
angry, like you don't fuck with him, you know. But he's actually just a big kid, you know. Like man, like he was just teasing me and pushing me around and just like making jokes the whole time. I'm like, man, get off me, like you know. For example, I asked him to make a box jump or to like jump and see if he can touch the wall. And every time he just wanted to make a bet. He's like, you don't think I can do it? I was like, I didn't say that, man. Just your next exercise is jump on the box. So he's like, how high do you jump? I'm like, 51 inches. Why? I'll go, yeah, I'll beat you. Like, I was like, you
Yeah.
can't beat me, man. I like, you want to bet on it and stuff. So like every time like that, you know. But yeah, it was very cool. And all those guys, when I get to work with those guys, you know, like over here, I've trained them a bunch of times. I obviously I try to be a trainer and help them out, and I bring what I bring to the table. But I try to learn as much as I can. Also, like this is a guy who's been around, has been fighting professional like this. I've been on the top for 20 years. Like it's crazy. So I look at his lifestyle. I look at how he does things. Like how did he? How is he up there for so long? How is he so successful? You know, a bit like when you do your podcast and you're like, okay, so how did this work? I'm the same. You know, I ask him all these questions and I listen to him and I see how he acts and stuff. And one of the things I found in general with some of the top athletes is, and that I wasn't doing so well, I guess, when I was younger, is I was always so passionate about being the best that I was always mm, training and stressing about it and stuff. Pro athlete, the top athletes, they work hard when they have to work hard, but then when they need to relax, they know how to just turn it off and just enjoy. And I think that's big because they know they've done the work, they have that confidence, and it's important in terms of your what happens in your body, your cortisol levels, and all that stuff. It's important to completely relax, and that's when you recharge your batteries properly. If you're, me, I would be like, okay, I train and everything, I go home and I'm still like watching videos and like, how do I do this better and this and that. And mentally and physically, even like when you go back to your next practice, you're not as fresh as the guy who just play video
Took a
games
break.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
completely. So I think that adds up, and I see a lot of the successful people. Yeah, it's tough to know exactly what that thing is, but they have that extra confidence. They have, yeah, I've always found like they know how to relax completely. You're thinking, man, there's so much at stake, man. You're Overeem, I think he's fourth right now in the world or something. He's trying to make it back to world champion, all that. Oh man, I'd be training like crazy. Oh man, it's taking it easy. I'm gonna go eat. I sleep all day. My body's tired today. I'll take it easy. Like, yeah, yeah. But when he needs to train, they get in the zone and they get it done. Yeah.
Okay, so before we start wrapping up, I have a final question for you about coaching. There are two schools of thought on coaching styles. One is, I'm not sure if you watched the movie Whiplash or Black Swan, these movies.
I'm familiar. They're a bit older, no?
Yeah, slightly old. So I just basically what happens in the movie is that the coach, this is a jazz drummer, he's a student, and he has a coach, and the coach is very toxic, physically and verbally abusive to the student. And in the movie, what ends up happening is the student, because it's under such a toxic environment and he wants to prove the coach wrong, he ends up changing his personality and becoming someone he never thought he would have become. And in that process, he becomes an excellent drummer and ends like tapping into something in a part of himself that he didn't know that existed. So that's one side of coaching. And now you have all these coaches who are very strict and who always try to push you. And what the coach in that movie says is there are no two words in the English language that are more dangerous than good job. And on the other hand, you have the more conventional style of coaching where the coaches are there to support you. Obviously, they work on your weaknesses and try to improve it, but they mainly there for positive reinforcement, there to hype you up, and they're there as a support system, as a friend. What do you think? Which is the better style? And what can work?
That's a tough one, yeah. And it depends also not just on the athlete and the sport and stuff, but also on the person's age and just everybody reacts differently. Like, but it's true. A lot of the top athletes also they always have a chip on their shoulders. They've always wanted to prove people wrong, or there's something inside them like they just can't fulfill it in a way. Like they just need to show everybody that they're the best. Um, but yeah, I mean, like now me, I work more with high level athletes. They've already made it or almost making it, and they've got that drive. And I don't need to my role just because I'm based in Dubai. I'm not with them 24/7 all year round in general. So I'm not, when they're having a rough patch or sometimes usually I'm not there. I'm more here when they come here for a few weeks, a training camp, and they're willing to work hard and stuff. So I don't have to go crazy and like show them how it's done and stuff. And I mean, obviously, you find that balance. Like, you have to push him and help him get better, but it's not about like bringing him down and like no positive reinforcements. But yeah, that's a good question. That'd be for like sports psychologists, I guess. What's the better approach? Um, I think with the more experience you have as a coach, um, and you always keep learning, keep reading, keep trying out different things, the more you kind of know. But everybody is different. You might have somebody who never needs positive reinforcements. They just have like this anger and they just always gonna go for it. And then something happens to them and then they need someone there to support them and be there for them also. Or else they're gonna do some bad things or whatever. So it's hard to I think everybody's in the individual case.
Okay, so before we start wrapping up, I would love for you to interpret what we have built with the Lego. You've built something very complicated. What is this? A tank?
The tank? I don't know.
I don't know with the.
No.
What do you think this is?
Yours is like you got some experience, huh? It's like advanced stuff.
Well, 500 episodes into
Yeah.
it. What do you think this is?
Good question. I don't know. I was just trying to build something more or less advanced but stable enough. Also, no good, no. It's
Yeah, I
solid.
mean, it is stable. What do you think I've built?
Like a factory, man.
Yeah, factory man.
Is it always something similar when you build it?
No, I mean, so every episode is something different, right? It's
Yeah.
just hands are just moving around. I recognize that if I use this, then it usually turns out to become like a
Mm.
city or a factory
Yeah,
or
yeah,
building, because of
yeah.
the setting. Okay, so final questions. What are some books, movies, or people that have been very positive influences in your life?
Me, one book. I'm not a big reader. I try to listen to like audiobooks and stuff when I can, when I'm driving and stuff. And in terms of books, there's a few good ones, but like Napoleon Hill is a good one. Um, Dale Carnegie is good also. And then I like the Stoics one. Like there's one that I read almost every morning called the Daily Stoic. And basically it's very easy to read one. It's like every day is basically a quote from one of the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius or whoever else. And then in a one or two paragraphs, they go into a bit more of an explanation of what it means for like nowadays. And it's good because it just I need to do more meditation, this and that, and I get into it, and after a couple of weeks, whoops, I stop, and then I forget about it. And so with this, it's man, it takes literally 30 seconds, and it makes you think for 30 seconds. You're like, you stop, you read it, you think about it, and then you go on with your day. Um, I should do as a 2021 resolution. I should get back into meditating and stuff like that. Definitely helps. Um, and then yeah, so for books,
Movies, people, role
Role
models.
role models, I think I've got a lot, man. It's like from different, for each different facets of my life, So for certain things, or even like now, what I try to do to focus on, and past couple of years, is I surround myself with other like-minded people more. I think you have to make a conscious effort to do that to if you want to keep progressing in life, man, because it's very easy to get into a comfort zone with surrounded by people that they're happy with where they are also, which is fine. But if you want to make it somewhere in life, you have to surround yourself with other people like that, that have the same ambitions and stuff. Because if you don't, everybody's, we're human. Or you have some days you don't feel like it, this and that, and then you just, next thing you know, it's been a couple months, you haven't made any progress. But if you're surrounded by other guys that are, going through ups and downs also, and they also want to get somewhere like you, then they'll push you when you need them, and then you motivate them when they need, and then you get a group of like, I don't know, 5 6 people, everybody's moving forward. And I think that's one of the big things. That's from the Dale Carnegie, or one of those, I think. It talks about, yeah, basically like, um, the 5 people that you're the most with, is what's gonna have the biggest impact on you.
Okay, what would you like your legacy to be like?
I've been doing more and more like online training.
Hmm.
This was always the idea. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to train all those big athletes. Obviously, I enjoyed, but it's also because that's a way to show my credibility, my reputation, my brand and stuff. So um, the online stuff, especially in the past year, I've really built it more, and it's uh, it's what I really enjoy doing, and I work with I've been working with dozens of high level younger players, 16, 17, 18, that want to make it pro, just became pro. And it's very rewarding, very nice to help them, because they're at the point where I was when I was their age, and where I didn't have anybody guiding me. I didn't know how to train, all that, someone like just guiding me and supporting me. And they've got that drive. They're willing to do anything, but they don't know how to train. So I tell them, and then they put in the work, and they see the results, and then it changes their career and their lives. So that's what I really enjoy doing. And I think it's a nice, obviously it brings in money also and stuff, but money is only so good. Like for a while, you want to do something that's actually going to help people and help the world. And I think this is the legacy that I like to have is, yeah, to help as many young football players as possible to make it to the top. Like
Final question for you.
yeah.
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah, it's a deep one, huh?
Only deep questions in this
Yeah.
show.
Me, I'm Catholic. I grew up. My parents are very Catholic and stuff. And even if I don't go to church every Sunday now anymore, it's still very in me. I pray almost every day and so that. So I've always been very family oriented and stuff. Also, my my goal in life, man, is just to be eventually to be a good father, to be a good husband. To if you look at what we're meant to be, I guess that's basically it, man. We're just animals in a way. Our goal is to reproduce and to give the best that you can to your future family and offer the best that you can uh, and move on. But for sure, like man, eventually, inshallah, I'd like to be known as one of the top strength conditioning coaches in the world. Yeah,
Inshallah. Coach Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show.
thank you for having me, man.
If people want to find you online, in person, where can they find you?
Instagram is the easiest one, I guess.
And
So
your username is
at Coach Nick _ no K in Nick, as the French version. And then yeah, there's a website and TikTok. I don't use too much. YouTube a little bit also, but yeah.
we'll put the links in the show description. Thank you, Coach Nick. It was a pleasure
Thank
talking to
you.
you.